Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. It's raining outside, so I can't do my little Mr. Rogers walk up because I haven't been out in that shed all day. That's never a good thing when I'm not out in that shed because that's where the money is actually made. This is where I collect the money because we got to ship stuff out. And we've got some awesome items today. I can't wait to show you. I had two things going through my mind today. One of those we're going to talk about today on this episode here of Commonwealth Flipper. And that's kind of, you know, I often talk about the road less traveled, and sometimes you need to follow what other people are doing that are doing it successfully. And sometimes you got to make your own path to really break out. And so I was at a place today that really got my wheels spinning a little bit. I'm like, I think this is something, and it's not like novel, but I want to talk about that today. And I also want to answer a question that somebody sent me. It kind of hit, I get a lot of questions, but this one kind of hit home a little bit. I want to answer that too. A lot of great sales. Let's go take a look. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. See if I can remember this. And sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as long as I could. And let me look here for the item. And you know what? Now that I'm back here, thought maybe it was in the MCM or up here, but I remember putting it out here. This is, I gotta be honest here. My dad picked this up at a sale and brought it back. I was watching Turner's baseball game. I went to sales to the south and he was staying up here. And he brought this back. It had a 50-cent price tag on it. He's like, is that good? Is that really good? And I was like, yeah, it's probably all right. And then doggone it, I looked it up. Look at that little peg leg West Clocks. I think that's what it is, West Clocks. And daggone, $40 plus shipping. There's no way I'm going to remember the rest of it, so I'm going to read it in a second. But I got to give a thank you to Carolyn. We had 3 viewer sales today. Carolyn, you are the first of those 3. And I wanted to thank you. That is a really cool looking clock. I think we undercomped it a little bit, but this one is tested and working. So I think you got a pretty good deal on it for its condition, its age, and it's working. I'm a subscriber and I buy a lot from eBay. I appreciate your eclectic items. Yard sales put my endorphins in high gear. Mine too. P.S. I'm a retired biology and chemistry teacher, assistant principal, athletic director. God bless you. Look at that. You said God bless you to me. And your family. Keep up the great work, Carolyn. Carolyn, thank you. I hope you enjoy that clock. It's a nice little shelf sitter for sure. I love that. Let me go off on a tangent for just a second before we get back to the topic. I often said to, well, I'll make some enemies by saying this. I often said to folks when they ask me about education systems and stuff, I was like, you know what? I'm a history teacher, and, we might complain about not getting paid or whatever, but let me tell you, the folks that are those advanced mathematics and chemistry teachers and all that, those folks, they could be out in the quote-unquote real world making some real cash, and they're in there teaching. And so I admired so many of those folks that put in all that time for that many years because I saw it was such a hard position to fill. I saw so many young teachers come into that. It was the highest math teachers were in and out in 1 year. They were gone. I had a rule. I wouldn't learn the math teacher's name until the 2nd year because they were gone all the time. I know that sounds a little cruel. It's not really true, but it was in my mind because they just shuffled them in and out like crazy because they're like, why do I want to put up with this when I can make money doing this? Same thing for you chemistry folks. I'm going to get back to that poem and my little story about choosing a different path. I've seen so much of it lately by some folks, and it's working for them. It doesn't always work. And I want to give a little real-life example of something that happened to me today. And I've thought about it before, but it was like right in front of my face. So Blondie, I love that one. Great album cover right there. Just screams 80s. Really cool. This one's a great album cover too. I have this one. I haven't put it up. I have this one as well, and I haven't put that up. And this one right here, Blondie, is one of my favorites. Just love Heart of Glass. Great song. This is a lot because it's in pretty darn good shape. Sold, I think, around $40 on this one. It's over $39.87 for that lot of LPs right there. I think LP folks, tell me what's the market like out there these days? I feel like it's okay right now. Well, let me know. I hear the dogs barking out there. All right, so I looked up the poem because I know I'm going to screw it up. I could get you the last stanza, but I can't get you the ones in between. All right, let's go here. So I've read the first part. I'm sorry to bore you here. to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other just as fair and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for the passing there, had warned them really about the same. And both of that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads to way, and that's the truth, I doubted if I should ever come back. I think a lot of folks are in that situation where they want to go in a direction and they're just afraid to for some reason, and maybe for good reason. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I chose the one less traveled by. And I'll tell you what, there are some folks out there that I see, they're looking at the opportunity that's going on out there, and they're going all in different directions. Obviously, my buddy ADH Dave did that. I don't have the desire to go all in if it's away from this, because I love it so much, and the static eBay selling, and I'm looking at these items and how they're constantly changing, and it just, I don't know why, it just gives me joy. I mean, look at this, right? This wasn't here the other day, and whoa, now it is. So that's super cool. And while I am not necessarily talking about myself changing in a drastic way that is a choice between 2 directions, I certainly did at one point in my life when I quit teaching, and it has truly made all the difference. And I want to tie that to something else. So this is a Clippers jersey. I have a story here with this one, actually, that will probably bore you, but that's all right, I'll tell it anyways. XL Clippers JJ Redick jersey. And that one sold for, I don't know, I should know this before I go, $29 plus shipping. And I remember when my younger days, when I was coaching baseball, I was a head coach at a high school at, I think it was 23, and which was kind of an amazing opportunity. But you can imagine that it wasn't the best team in the world. So it was a building process that I thoroughly enjoyed, and we got to where well, maybe not to the ultimate goal, but we certainly got better. But I remember taking my young little team down there, my 9 ball players. I mean, it was crazy. We were getting rid of players that were just not the right folks that we needed, and we were cobbling together a team to rebuild it. And we went down, and we were having success at it, which was kind of crazy. And we went down to Roanoke, Virginia, to Cave Spring High School. And we get there, and they're just massive. They're just big dudes out there. And I'm like, look at that center fielder. He's huge. I'm like, what are we doing? I got these little sophomores out there that are smaller than me. And they're like, that kid's going to play in the NBA someday. I'm like, okay. JJ Redick was standing out there. Now, he doesn't look like a big NBA, or he didn't look like a big NBA player, but as far as baseball players go, that guy was big, and he was pretty darn good. We played well that day, but we did lose. And this is they say mugs don't sell. Well, some of them do, I guess. It's a Rainforest Cafe mug. Alligator. And it's just looking cool. And that one sold for $22 plus shipping. So I get a phone call the other day from somebody who is they run an estate company, and they had a house that they could not do an estate sale at. They just couldn't do it. The parking where it was located and whatever. And so she called me. And I don't know if she called other people too, I assume. They were going to take the contents of that and piece it together with another estate, but they didn't want to move everything. And so they called me, and they're like, hey, would you like to come buy some of this stuff at a decent price so we don't have to move it all? And I was like, well, shoot, heck yeah. Anytime I get that call, I go. And I'm over there, and it's me and her. We're the only ones there. And I'm like, you know what? You know what I could do? I could pick up my camera right now, or my phone, and I could go live on Dibdit, and I could just start selling all this stuff right here. And I wouldn't even have to bring it home, prep it, do whatever. I knew the price was going to be good, and I was like, I want to do it. And, I get timid doing that stuff sometimes. And it just so happens that at the same time, Kristen, a friend of mine, a rural squirrel, if you know her, she was live on Dibdit at the same time. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I was like, you know what? She's doing this, kind of. She was in a remote location. She was in a Goodwill bins selling stuff live before she bought it. I'm like, this is cool. That's Flip the World does that over there. I'm like, that takes guts to do that, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go on her show and do it. And I did. And I went on, I sold 2 things. But the service out there, I didn't think it through. I was out in the middle of nowhere. It was pretty spotty. So they could understand like every other word and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to ruin your stream. But I did sell 2 things. But my plan was to sit there and sell everything that I was taking out of that house right there. Except for the giant stuff. And I thought that would be fun. This is a sweet little paperweight. And this one is too. I think we got like 17 bucks. I think that's right for them. Sold them live right there. And I would have done far more, but I'm so glad I took that opportunity, and it got me thinking. I'm like, you know what? She had a shop. She shut her shop down. I mentioned this in a previous video. So now they're in a place where they have to absolutely clean out an estate completely. It's got to all be gone. It's not going to be like whatever's left over and it's going to this. By the way, if I had somebody run an estate sale for me, that's the way I'd do it, because there's a lot of shady people in that business. But if you find somebody like that, that's honest and will get it all gone and give you your cut, and everything's going to get sold, and they're not going to take it for pennies on the dollar and go sell it themselves, that's the estate sale company that I'd want to work with. And I'm like, you know what? Here's an opportunity here. You know, it might not be me, but, you know, if I could find somebody to work with them to be able to go to those houses that you can't have an actual estate sale on and just go there and do it live on the marketplace, they could be assured everything would be gone. The person doing it would get a cut for them. And I'm like, you know what? There are so many interesting opportunities out there like that. And even, you know, us pickers out there, you know, if you have a following of some sort or have built one on a live selling marketplace, it could be an option for you. You go into somebody's house that has a collection, and it's like, you know, you're trying to make a deal on it. And maybe the deal is, hey, how about I just come in here and sell it all live and we, you know, do whatever with the money. You know, there may be some legalities that you might need to work out, but I just think there are so many opportunities, and I know some of you are thinking of them, and I don't even know what they are, but I would at least encourage people to dabble in their opportunities and see where it leads them. And the moment you'll know, when it's time, you'll know, and you step out and you take your chance. I also would say, hey, sometimes people can't do that, and you got to make very prudent, wise decisions. And I didn't make a willy-nilly decision on quitting my job teaching. I worked double time. I worked like 80 hours a week doing both. And once I could see it breaking one way, then I chose that direction in that yellow wood. So the Hawaiian shirt, Honolulu, Hawaii, Palm Air. It's a vintage one. Kind of cool. Not the best colors I've ever seen, but still kind of cool. And it feels like it's silk or rayon or something. It does have a... Does it have issues with it? It looks like it's got a couple in there. What the heck is that? Something. Oh, it's a button, an extra button or something. Any rate, this one sold for $17.50-ish plus shipping. This is the time of year to sell those Hawaiian shirts. I don't have that many this year. This one sold as well. Not a Hawaiian shirt, but definitely the time to sell this. This is a vintage single stitch Virginia Beach seashell shirt. Made in the USA, size large, screen stars tag. I have no idea what that one sold for. It can't be too much. $16 plus shipping. So I guess, you know, I'm not saying go take your chance and go be dumb and risk it all. But, you know, there certainly is something to be said for putting things in place, whether it's working your tail, absolutely just working your butt off, and getting to a point where you're controlling debt or wiping it out or putting yourself in a position where you can, if opportunity knocks, you can open that door. Sold this cool Kenworth hat, little corduroy Kenworth hat. That's a pretty cool little snapback right there. So it's hat selling season as well. And that one sold for $19 plus shipping. I really like that one right there. So it's the season to sell this kind of stuff. And hats are starting to pop. Every video, it seems like now 1 or 2 hats are headed out of here. Looks like that is the second of 3 viewer sales today. Love the channel. You are the one who got me to start my eBay store. Been loving the Flipper channel and look forward to watching your videos every time you upload. That's very kind, Christopher. Maine Woods Gun Parts. Very cool. Maybe do you live in a Yellowwood? I was a huge Laker fan growing up because I grew up in Southern California. And I don't really watch basketball much anymore. 16-time NBA champions. This is the Magic era, and Worthy and all those guys, and Byron Scott and Kurt Rambis and Kareem. And I remember Chick Hearn announcing those games. So I still have an affinity for the Lakers stuff. I picked this up for $1 because the back hit was so cool. It's a good little trick too. And I didn't list this one. My wife did, but I would have put that on the cover photo as opposed to this one, which is the front. But whatever, it still sold, and it sold on 30% off, so we only got $10.50 plus shipping. Since I'm in story mode today, talking about the Lakers, I remember growing up just being completely enamored with the announcer, Chick Hearn. The Lakers were so stinking good back then. He used to say, when the Lakers would just dominate a game, he'd say, I don't think Jesus and all his disciples could have beat the Lakers tonight. They were good. I remember my grandma thinking it was a little sacrilegious, which it might have been, but daggone it was funny. I thought this was a great buy. I've got two, maybe I shouldn't have bought these buys today. I bought these down in Florida, and I paid $4 a piece. I think I got 17 of them. And I'm like, man, the comps on these are like $24. I'm like, $4 a piece, I can make 57. I can make like $300+ on these. Well, one has now sold. So I'm like, I'll make my money, but it's going to take a long time, these Klein pouches. I think if they were a little bit, they're new, but they're still kind of, it's not great. I think that's what's hurting them. But this one sold for $23.27 plus shipping. Let me know if you have any of those ideas out there that you think is a great idea along the reselling. You don't have to tell me what the idea is. You don't have to let the cat out of the bag. But if that's you, what is holding you back from it? And what is holding you back may be a good reason to hold you back. But let me know. Maybe you're willing to share it out there. Maybe it's just something simple like I want to start selling a different category, but I don't know anything about it. Maybe it's something a little bit more drastic like I want to be a live seller, or maybe it's I want to stop selling on this platform completely and start, whatever it is. Or maybe it's something big, like you want to stop messing around with thrift stores and you want to, open up I don't know what it is. Let me know in the comments. I haven't sold a pair of shorts in a month of Sundays, but these were brand new with the tag at a $1 sale. And I was like, well, can't go wrong with that, right? And I didn't. 18 bucks on that one. There's the tag on there for $49.99 on sale from $79.95. Does anybody actually ever pay the full sticker on these things? I don't think so. So 18 bucks from $1 plus shipping. I've got a bunch more to go here, but this is the second part. We're going to go off that topic for just a second here. Well, for probably the rest of the way. This is a message I got. I don't know why this one hit me like it did, but it seemed like a sincere question of somebody that's not feeling great about something, and it seems like it's so easily solvable here. So I just figured I wanted to answer this one. I don't often do Q&As unless I'm doing a Q&A video, but this one I thought, Green Machine Go. And I'll just skip the first part. Here's the question. There's multiple questions. Do you ever get discouraged about how sales are going? That's the easy part. Of course, we all do. We all do. If you're not, look, if things are amazing and just keep getting amazing and even better, it's eventually going to slow a little bit. And then you're naturally not going to feel great about it, right? It is a roller coaster ride, so for somebody like you and you old folks out here who've been doing this a while, know this. Don't take little snapshots. Take bigger snapshots. Look at it by month at the very least, not by day and not by week. Now, on the flip side of that, your goals, your listing goals and those kind of things, that can be looked at in much smaller pictures. But the results, I think you need to have a much wider lens for. Because if you don't, it gets to you psychologically. But, it's the inverse. Your goals, your work ethic, what you're putting in every day, look at it in very small snapshots. And then, the eventual results, look at bigger snapshots. So there's my advice for that part of it. That's the easy part. How about this one? Because this has to do with, this shows me a little bit of the mindset needs to shift a little bit. If you price something, do you get all kinds of people saying that that's too much? And then the inverse of that. Or do you get people say you should list that thing for far more money, or looking at your listing and saying you're not asking enough for that item, which that doesn't happen very often. But if you're looking at those polar parts right there, I think you're looking at the wrong thing. I want to add one other thing to this as well, and then get back to those two little polar opposites. I think that people on the goal side of it, where I think you should look at that small snapshot, are thinking about it wrong. I hear still, after all these years, and people saying that this is the wrong way to look at it. The goal for them is to grow their store. Like, I have 1,000 items listed. I want 2,000 items listed. I want 3,000 items listed. That's a terrible way to look at it. To me, the best way there's different options. One way is to look at the 90-day total of sold items. You want that number to be a certain amount. You know, I want 500 sold items in 90 days. I want 1,000 sold items in 90 days. I think that's the number you should look at as opposed to how many listings you want, because if you make sales, that listing gets farther and farther away. So I wouldn't do it that way. I would also set my goals in different ways than I'm going to list 10 things a day or whatever it is. I'm going to up that. I think I would set it in dollar amounts. I want to list $200 a day. I want to list $300 a day. It might actually control what you're buying and influence you in a good way to get the ASP up. It also might encourage you to list some of those bigger headache items that you don't really want to list, because that item might be worth $50, $60, $100, and it really motivates you that way. Plus, you can have cheat days, right? It's like, okay, I don't have much to do today, but my goal is $200 in listings, so go find that $200 item and list that one thing and go about your day. It's a little cheat method. That's what I did when I first started doing this quote-unquote full-time, which I'm not full-time. It was $250 every single day that needed listed, because I knew I needed to make, 175 to 200 a day to be pretty comfortable with what I was doing. And to make that every day, you should be listing $250 worth, because a lot of it you're going to end up discounting. Some of it, hopefully not much, might not sell at all. Plus you get returns every once in a while. Looks like it's a closed day, and a closed day, especially springish close. I bought this down in Florida. I thought it might be a good seller on its own. For $1, I bought a bunch of the exact same size and brand shirts, sold them as a lot. And this one I thought was cool enough, rip curl with a bunch of cactus on it. I'm like, that should at least bring 15 for $1. It's in great clean shape, and it did, 15 bucks plus shipping. Actually, it brought $15.95 plus shipping, which is even better. And the next item is one of those, it's like after the fact, I really screwed this up. I mentioned it on the Trash to Cash podcast. I'm still going to do fine with it, and I'll tell a story, but let me go grab it. Looks like everything's inside today. Some days there's stuff out in that shed. Some days there's a bunch of stuff from in there, and most of the time it's mostly in here. But today I should have just pulled it all out first. These are actually something I've got away from selling. I used to sell them all the time in singles and in doubles. But this one I bought not on purpose, and I couldn't not list them. You've seen these for years, the cassette holders. That is because it was full of cassettes, and most of those cassettes were good ones. And because I told them I'd pick the cassettes out of there, or I'd buy just the cassettes, and they're like, no, I'm only going to give you a discount if you take these. And I'm like, well, okay, no problem. So I ended up paying, virtually nothing for the cassettes and the cases as well. And these do sell. They are slow sellers, but they do sell. The problem with these, I think I got $54.95 plus shipping for them for 3. That's probably right. Yeah, there it is, $54.95 plus shipping. The problem is I do flat rate shipping. And on something like this, people like to buy multiples because it costs so much to ship one. They'd rather buy 3, and it cuts their price down a little bit. Well, I put $19.99 shipping on these, and that would be fine if it was going close. But this is going to California. It's going to cost me around $26 to ship this, which isn't the end of the world when you sell for $54.95. The reality is, I made a bunch of money on these cases and got all those cassettes, some of them sealed, that are really good ones, and we lotted those up. So we are going to make like $200 profit off of that buy that day. But man, I'm not looking forward to that. Although it is square, you just find the right box, put it in there, make sure there's padding, and it'll be okay. So back to the main part of the question here. Let me look at it one more time so I have it straight. If you price something, do you get all kinds of people saying that that's too much? So that's kind of the game, right? I think you're giving yourself, paralysis by analysis here. Who cares? I mean, I'm one to talk, right? But who cares what people think? What really matters is it right? Is it correct? If you've done your research correctly, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe you're not comfortable enough getting to those sold comps and really looking the item up. And not just looking it up, but looking at it, maybe putting it highest first and scrolling way down and seeing the range of what the items are actually selling for. But take a minute, look at the title, look at the description. Well, I don't know if I click on the description, but look at the title, look at the picture, it might be condition issues that might be changing the price of an item. And I think people discount that. They just quickly look through and scroll through, and it's like, here's my comp, and I'm just going to list it for that. And it may not work. It may be too high, and so people are coming complaining. Those people just want a better deal. And if it doesn't sell in forever, drop the price. As far as the other side of the equation, my experience is that 95% of the people, and there's not many who even write this, that say, hey, you should be asking more for that, are going to be right after you list it, and it will almost always be somebody who has that item listed or is an expert in that category, and they don't want people to undercut their market. So I would ignore those people, well, to a certain degree. I wouldn't get upset by it. I would go back and do a little bit more research and really look at those sold comps. What really matters is, are you making money, and are you having fun at it? Just dismiss that stuff and do the research correctly, and put it, if you don't mind waiting around for a sale, put it right there at the market or a little bit above. If your condition is better, definitely put it above. If you don't care, don't undercut the market too much, but if you don't care, put it at the bottom of the market and get it sold. I was going to go pick the next item, but I realized it was a multiple, and I always look to see if that is a viewer in this one. It was the third viewer sale of the day, so let's read this one first and then pick it here. Hello, Kevin. This is Miss Bonnie again. Hello, Bonnie. Still liking your videos. Keep up the great work, and don't worry about those others that give you a bad remark. I'm enjoying all my purchases that I've bought from you so far. Well, Bonnie, I appreciate that, and I'm going to show everybody what you bought, and we appreciate you. I hope you enjoy it without the dogs in here. No dogs today because it's been raining outside, and everybody's home, and they're eating upstairs, so they're definitely hanging out up there. I imagine when the kids come in, Turner for his joke, and I think Reagan has a sale that she has to talk about, that you might get to see them today. A lot of people pass these up, and sometimes for good reason. But if you can get them, the old McDonald's ones from the 80s, you can do okay on them. And we got a bunch of different ones. There's Hamburglar right there. And these sold, believe it or not, I paid $1 for them, all of them, because they were $1 a piece at a sale. It's been a while, and it's not Halloween time, but people like the old McDonald's buckets for Halloween. So for 25 bucks plus shipping. Definitely an eBay cave kind of day. I picked the next two from in there instead of doing one at a time, and gets my steps in at least. Doctor says I need to get my steps in anyways, and he's a picker too. It's funny, we go in there and have a checkup, and all he wants to talk about is eBay. Doctor's selling on eBay. He's not a reseller either. You can't have another profession, to be a real reseller. Longaberger Christmas Collection Edition. I don't even know what this sold for. I gotta look. Hold on. I can tell you this one. I remember this one. Anchor Hocking Basket Buffet. That sold for $19.95 plus shipping. And let me look for this one. $13.96 plus shipping on that one. It's a cool basket. It does have a little bit of... No, it's not. It's not damaged. It just needs to be peeled off. So it's actually in very good condition. So that one's a good deal right there. Now I'm really getting my steps in. Going out here. Piece of glass sold. And let me tell you what I did today, y'all. You might think I'm nuts. I think I'm nuts. I bought this SureColor P800. I was told it was working, and if it is, it should be $400, $500, $600. If it's not working, just for parts as is, $250 plus shipping. And it was at that estate sale, and I offered $100 for it because I just wanted to make sure that I get a phone call next time. And boy, not going to be fun. It's a giant printer and it's heavy. But even if it sells for even 100 into 250, it's not more than an hour's worth of work total. Testing, pictures, listing, and shipping. Because it's square. It's not that hard to ship that thing. It's just heavy as I'll get at. So even the worst case scenario, I'm going to make some money. What am I looking for? Here we go. Pedestal Rose Bowl, Carnival Glass. I don't know what color that is, but it's pretty cool. $20.97 plus shipping. I know most of you wouldn't do that, but for me, you got to play the long game a little bit too. And if they call you because they have to move the stuff and it's got to go quick, if you grab something big like that, like she said, you sure you don't want the TV? And I could probably got this beautiful Sony TV for like 50 bucks. That I could sell on Facebook. I just didn't want to do it. I got probably $1,200 in merchandise for 400 bucks. So if that thing's working, which it probably is, to be honest. So that's cool. Little sale. I like selling glass now. Not gonna lie, this next one kind of surprised me, and it makes me feel insufficient that I can't spot things as easily as some of you pros out there have been doing it forever. Because if I had looked at this box and not had time that day, I'd have passed it up. This is a mahogany tea caddy. Does not look that special to me. Other than maybe the design of it looks pretty neat. And of course it's got the compartments inside for this old tea caddy. It's an older piece in pretty good shape. And except for that. That one sold for $46.55. No, there you go. Plus shipping. Well, that one was pretty good. This next one wasn't quite as good. I paid way too much for this, in my opinion, but it was part of a bigger deal, so I felt okay about it. Now, keep in mind, I bought like at least $350 worth of stuff for 60 bucks in this deal. But the price tag on this was 20. I don't know what it is in the whole price, but did have this little issue right here, Kate Spade bags, which I've done really well on. I hear they're selling them at Target and stuff, so I don't know if they're going down a little bit. Maybe y'all could tell me, but that one, I just thought it was pretty cool. I thought it would go for around 50 because it's nice big Kate Spade in good condition, but not perfect. I was wrong. Sold for 34. So if you look at the deal as a whole, and I bought some things up there, I'm going to do great. This particular part of it, I'm going to make like, I don't know, $8, $9 profit on as well. But it's still profit, I guess. All right, where Reagan goes, so go the animals. And that is no name, y'all. All right, who are you thanking today?
Crystal got a Commonwealth flipper sticker and a Trash Cash t-shirt and a Trash Cash sticker.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you, Crystal, very much. Thank you, no name. Oh, fat kitty.
Bye, and don't forget to get your stickers at CommonwealthPicker.com.
The next one was like a staple pickup for me, even, I mean, for 15 years. And during COVID, it went crazy as well. But now, I usually avoid them unless they're like $1. They're slow sellers for me now. It didn't used to be, but they are now. You can also part these out and actually do a little better if you part them out. But it's the Don Vier ice cream maker. And you can part those parts out and the lid and do okay with those. But those are slow sellers, so I usually try and avoid them. This didn't sell. This is the time of year where they start to sell, however. And sometimes the pink handles and different stuff do okay. You find them in a box if they're new, but I probably paid $1 or $2 for it. $13.27 because it sold on 30% off plus shipping. But I usually avoid them now. All right, y'all. Turner has a cat that loves him. That's Boots. But I don't like Boots in here because she misbehaves. But it'll be all right for just one joke for Commonwealth comedy. I'll just keep my eye on her right there. All right, what's your joke?
What do hockey players and magicians have in common?
What do hockey players and magicians have in common? I don't know what.
They both do hat tricks.
Very good. Who's your favorite hockey team?
Dallas Stars.
That's right. Shout out Second Love. And there's the cat. Come on, bud. Let's get out of here. You did good, though, I think. Next item has actually been shipped out already, and it's something I want to mention. It was a static sale over there. Well, it was an auction, but it wasn't a live auction over on dibditsports.com. And I mentioned in a video last week that somebody had gifted me this stuff. And when that happens, we usually run a charity auction, and Jess handles all of the live selling, not even just the live selling. She handles the live selling, shipping, and she also handles the static sales that are over on the Dibdit marketplaces. And so I put this up for auction over there, and I mentioned it, it was for charity. And of course, Mike Metco sniffs out all the charity stuff. One of the most amazing guys in all of reselling. I can't tell you enough about this guy. I can't wait to see you, by the way. And we'll see you soon. And this right here, I'm going to show you what got bought, even though his got shipped out already. It's an Inaman golf club head cover with the towel that is also Inaman golf towel, and it also had a button on it as well. So this was what he bought, except for it's not this one, plus there was more on it. And I hope Jess sent you extra, because she should, knowing it's Mike Metco. Anyway, go check him out if you're ever interested in the meetups that are going on. You should go check him out. I'm going to sell this. It probably will already be sold, actually, by the time you see this. I'm going to sell this on a live show over on dibditsports.com. If you missed that show, you probably did, because it's coming out way later. I'm putting golf clubs over there now for the most part. unless they're already listed here, because I'm out of space to put them. And I just think that when I find golf clubs, I want to find them at a good enough deal that I can pass them on super quick, ship 6 or 8 different orders to one person at a deal. They can make the money on them, and that's my strategy with that kind of stuff. So anyway, Mike Metco Meetups. Go check him out on YouTube. He does a YouTube channel just about meetups, and he goes to so many of them, which is amazing. So go check him out and subscribe. Thank you, Mike. All right, everybody in the house is eating, including the dogs and the cats, but me. So I'm going to go up and eat, and hopefully my wife's going to come down and help me ship this when we're all done. It's been a long day, but let me know out there, is there anything holding y'all back? Hopefully this has been, I don't want to encourage people to jump out on a limb and make foolish decisions, but sometimes, you know, when certain things happen and that, you know, the opportunity knocks at the door, sometimes you got to open that door. And if you're in that situation, at least if you're not in that situation, but you want to be, move yourself to a position where you can capitalize. And you never know, because my life completely changed because of just a few little decisions. That's what I mean as way leads to way. And that is the absolute truth. Sometimes it's those little things that move you in a direction that just changes everything. Made all the difference. So thank y'all for putting up with my sappiness today, and I can't wait to see you next.